I'm here with Brian Wang, and man, what a day, Brian. Oh my goodness gracious. We're going to talk for a few minutes about the action today and what the heck is going on. And then we're going to get right into this AI5 because, Brian, I've changed my mind now three different times in covering this company. I used to say that the core of the company was batteries.
Yeah.
And then the core of the company was the AI
FSD, robotaxi,
FSD,
autonomy.
the actual autonomy in the real world autonomy. And now maybe the core of the company is data chips
Right.
or potato chips. I'm not sure, one of those things.
Mhm.
Anyway, so we'll get to that in a couple of minutes, and then we'll do a second video where we're going to explore the space aspect. Because for those of you who, don't go as deep into the headlines as I do, Google today announced they will have data centers in space by 2027. So this rocket that went up today, taking the first chip into space, apparently, Google's been thinking about this too. All right, so let's start off with what happened today in the world of Tesla and the markets. So what did you see?
So it looks like the market was looking for an excuse to sell off on everything, and then pretty much they did. Um, May have started with Palantir's call last night, where they gave a great call. Like to me, they were wonderful. It was like we did a great quarter, selling a lot to commercial. It sounded wonderful to me, but not wonderful enough to prevent the sell-off because it sold off like 10%.
10%.
Well, several percent right away,
Yeah.
and then continuing on through, and then the rest of the market started to go down a bit overnight, and then this morning it just seemed to like really collapse a fair bit. So, but not much on anything else. It's like everything else news-wise seems good. We have a China trade deal. Everything else seems to go on all right, but I think overextended and excuse to sell seem to be
Yeah,
right.
so I do have a slight take on this. Is I think that the nervousness started last week when Fed Chairman Powell said we may not, don't be so sure.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think that kind of put a little nervousness into the market. You saw the VIX go up because of that, and the
Mhm.
VIX has been kind of floating up there around 16 to 18 for the last few days.
Yeah.
And then, so I think the market was like, what's going to happen here? And
Yeah.
then I don't know if it's people, every headline said it was Palantir. I'm not
Right.
sure that's even what did it.
Well, I said
But
it's an excuse trigger and
use.
then
Yeah, yeah.
wanted to sell off. Yeah. But again, yeah,
And poor Palantir, it reminded me of what we've gone through how many times with Elon, where we
yeah,
have this great call and we're going, oh my gosh, what a future. And then the stock market goes, I mean, that stock goes down. But
yeah,
anyway, yep. So it's not just us. It happens to other
right.
people too.
It happened to other stocks as well. Yeah.
So,
High
okay.
flyers.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Technical Specialist, what happens next?
Um, I'm, well, I would follow Tom Lee. Tom Lee said that we could have a bad first part of November, and then it's going to U-turn mid-November, and then, straight back up, going to go to, well above all-time highs. What is it, 7,500 or more? It's going to
He
be,
said, I said, well, next year. Yeah. So this
yeah,
year, I think he's saying 7,000 or more,
yeah,
because right now, 7,000 doesn't look like that hard of a get.
yeah.
My number is 7,100. And then I think he says next year, if it's going to be a decent year, you're going to be talking the 8,000s.
No, I think he said, I heard an
Oh,
interview
he
where he
changed
says
it to 7,500 this year?
73 to 7,500 this year. Right.
Wow. Okay,
He
I missed
said,
that.
yeah, so he said it was gonna rip 7,300, 7,500, but he said that the
Half of
um,
November.
first half of November is soft, could be very, very weak, but then it's gonna turn right around and then be rip roaring to the end. So, he's been right before. I'm willing to go with that.
Yeah,
And then for Tesla, we should start having wonderful news hopefully in 2 days,
right, right,
with the annual call
right.
and Elon package passing and all that kind of stuff.
All that kind of stuff.
Right.
All right. So you already know that I think Elon's amazing. I'm
Yes.
going to guess you think Elon's amazing.
Yes.
But I will have to say that over the weekend, I was going, is there anything that he is not going to win at? Is there
Yeah.
anything? Because the
Yeah.
Grokpedia came out, and you're looking at Grokpedia and you're going, that's the end of Wikipedia. They're just
Yeah.
toast. That's
Right.
it. They don't have a chance. Then you see what's happening with XAI. You see the growth in XAI, all the things that he's doing over there. You look at the data center up in Nashville and the data center down in Austin, and then I start digging in, and I'm no expert, believe me. That's why you're here. I start digging into what some of the things he's saying about the AI 5 chip and then the AI 6 chip. And I'm going, is he going to, because you said a year ago, you said you thought they would pass NVIDIA in 2028. I think you said 2028 with Dojo, but then I said, oh no, we're not going to do Dojo anymore. But maybe we don't need Dojo. I don't know. You help me out here. What's going to happen?
So we got a bunch of news, and I'm gonna have some slides to show everyone. So let me get that up. Okay, so AI 8 will change everything, although AI 5 is still there. So, so I had a previous thing about AI 5, and so AI 5 is there, but now we're talking about AI 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm going to go over that in some detail. So they just finished a long design review with Tilted California. Texas chip engineers, going to be great. AI 6 and 7 will follow in fast succession. AI 8 will be out of this world. Chip design review continues tomorrow, followed by Optimus demo review. So, you know, all kinds of activity. Elon's totally involved in making AI 5 wonderful. So slightly different version of AI 5 was made at TSMC and Samsung. They're both making it. So some physical differences. Small samples, make small number of units in 2026. High volume production only possible in 2027. So that is a change. Before we were expecting high volume production of AI 5 at the end of 2026. And that was already a delay from, I think, even this year or early next year. So it moved back a bit. But it's the kind of thing where only if it really hits it out of the park does it do what it needs to do. So before, people might have been thinking that it was necessary for robotaxi to succeed, and that's not the case.
Not true, no.
It's not needed for robotaxi. So if not needed for robotaxi, what is it for? It is for, sorry. So there's some other space stuff mixed in here, so sorry, I'll skip past that. It is for the distributed AI.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Distributed AI is what it's for. So they need to win distributed AI, and then they will also get in AI 6, AI 7 versions that are good for training and other stuff in there, because they're going to go back to training and other AI data center stuff for the space version of it. But that's some years down the road, right? So they want to make sure it wins for AI inference and distributed AI, and they want it to be the best and most efficient for the small models. Wow. So in our book, we discussed the fact that there'll be a split. The high-end big models, yes, the AI Rising book. AI Rising book.
Which, and by the way, Audible just came out. So if you wanted the Audible, you can go on right now and just use the same link down below. It'll take you to the Audible. It's out and available right this minute. Okay, I'm sorry.
Right. So AI Rising, the book there, that over the right shoulder or left shoulder. So distributed AI is the key, and for small model efficiency, right? So rushing something out and not really crushing that use case and utterly dominating that use case does not do anything for Tesla, right? Because they don't. Yeah, go ahead.
And do you think maybe part of the reason why it's been delayed is because they've decided to move 100% of the manufacturing to South Texas and to Arizona? Because they're still building that building over there.
Right.
So right. I think the AI 5 was originally going to be made either in Taiwan or in Korea.
Right. I think it was going to be in Taiwan for TSMC, because AI 5 was originally going to be TSMC.
Yeah.
And then now it's TSMC and Samsung. And then AI6 was supposed to be only Samsung, but now it's both.
Right.
So they're both involved in it. There's probably political things, as you say, in terms of like where they make it.
Right.
So a bunch of things are moving. They wanted to have AI6 in the new fab from Samsung in Texas, so that Elon could walk the line and have
Right.
interaction there. But the fact that he has deals with TSMC likely means that TSMC says, "Hey, Samsung will give you all that. We'll give you a lot of that too," right? So the dynamics are that Elon's getting what he wants from both places,
Sure.
and he also needs to have two sources and blah blah blah. So a lot of moving pieces around that. But the thing is, unless he gets over a really high bar, then he doesn't want to do something early on that, because it doesn't need to go into the bots or the robotaxi now.
Right. Right. Now, do you think it'll be less? Do you think it'll be less expensive? Because there was some conversation that AI6 was going to be like $5,000 a piece or something.
Right. It looks like it's going to be cheaper than that. It looks like AI6 also is not as revolutionary as it was before.
Okay.
So let me go back to sharing on that.
Yep.
So go back here. So here we have a bunch of the stuff together about what's been said about AI5 and AI6, right? So small batch sizes, all the great performance of AI5. But he said that AI6 is only double the performance of AI5, right?
Okay.
So in terms of chip improvement, that's a small step. Big steps are like 5x improvements from NVIDIA going from H100 to B200, B200 to Rubin, right? So 5x is a big move. AI5 is a huge leap of 40x to try and get in the range of the NVIDIA chips. And then they are talking about 10 times cheaper for inference than H100 equivalents, right? Which, it needs to be cheaper on inference than B200. So he needs to be in that range of, because it needs to win on inference. If it doesn't win on inference, then it's not as good, right? Go ahead.
So again, when we talk about this inference, you're talking about the distributed inference, right? Or are you talking about even in a data center?
Even in a data center, both.
Even in a data center, it needs to be better than NVIDIA. Okay. Now I get you.
Yeah. So, but it needs to win on inference. It doesn't have to win on training. It has to win on inference. Because most of the compute, most of the use cases go to inference.
Like 90%, right?
Well, 90% or even more, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's where you need to win, and it needs to win efficiently for small models, because inference will be dominated by small models, because that is 30 times more energy efficient.
Right? And edge cases, right?
And the edge node work, yes, where he was talking about that you'll have an AI central and they'll talk to an AI local on an inference type chip. And then, so then even if you don't have the AI data center central, you want to have the AI data center edge case. So focusing on winning that is key for them, right? So and then the fact that they delayed AI5 into volume production in 2027, to me means pulling forward things for AI6 in 2028 into 2027. AI6 becomes an incremental improvement. The bulk of what you're doing is AI5.
Gotcha.
So AI5 is critical for that. And then they'll do these fast iterations on AI6, AI7, meaning that stuff that they couldn't fit into the timeline gets put in to AI6, AI7 1 year after. So 2027, 2028 is where you have your AI6 chip with more stuff loaded in, but only 2 times better, because most of it went into AI5. 2 times better or more, 2 or 4 times better for AI7. A more, they talk about more adventurous stuff. They're moving it to different nodes, the 1 nanometer node, so it's even more efficient. So they're going to the leading edge on that for AI7. And then AI8 is where they put the space modifications in there to win space data center.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Is that the main reason for doing an AI8? Is just to make it, I mean, as far as we know,
right, as far as we know now,
I see.
Right, is to win the AI data center in space aspect. But that is 4 or 5 years down the road. When they said, that they would do 100 gigawatts by in 5 years by 2030 or something like that. One, not enough chips of any kind to really do that.
I see.
You'd have to get like TSMC entire production for the
Right.
year, and then I could give you the whole thing, right? So, and then you have to make everything ready. You have to de-risk everything. I need to make smaller, like go from one chip 3 days ago to 100 chips to 10,000. Just like we going from a few Tesla bots to
Right.
1,000 Tesla bots,
Right.
and then eventually get to 1 million Tesla bots. Until you get it working right, until you get the hands and blah, 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 all working right, you don't scale. Similarly, you're not going to scale and lock your AI8 design until you've sorted out all of the problems, because there's new problems to be solved in
Sure,
space.
sure.
We've only just started.
All right. So AI5 and its cousin AI6
Yeah.
will have a lot of space left over for inference, for
Yes.
distributed inference.
Yes. It's basically that's the main purpose of it.
Okay. And so this would be massive, I assume. I mean, you and I, if we have the AI5 chip in our car, and eventually in our robot, will be getting some kind of income for the use of this extra space on the chip. Is that your understanding?
Right. It won't necessarily be safe from the chip. It's just we're only using our robotaxi, even if we're renting it out for like 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
Right. So then for 110 hours, I can be computing. And even when I'm doing robotaxi, I may only use 20%, 50% of the time the compute.
Right.
So there'd be extra stuff left over to do. Like oftentimes you're just cruising on the road.
Sure.
It's easy for us. It's easy for the chip.
Right.
Right. I'm just like, oh, I'm cruising. It's not challenging driving.
Right.
Right. It's only a few times. Okay, now I'm in with a bunch of cars in a crazy intersection. That's when I'm using more compute. But then most of the time it's not there when I'm not, all kinds of people.
Okay, and so here's one for you. I'm sure you know this, and I don't, and a lot of people listening probably don't. So this distributed inference has to leave the car. Oh, it has to get instructions from outside the car. I'm guessing that's like on Wi-Fi or something like that, or will every car end up with a Starlink dish, and will this be going back and forth by Starlink?
Yes, every car will have a Starlink dish eventually, or have a Starlink direct to cell phone. So a SIM chip will do it as well.
I see.
But the communication is actually very little because it's a prompt. I'm sending you a prompt. So the prompt can only be so complicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
There may be, right now we found structured prompts, programming, and say, okay, like we say in the book, like you are a engineer, you're doing this and that, and you're having the task, and I want to give you this result, right? Or analyze this physics problem, analyze this Tesla bot coding problem, right?
Okay.
That could be a lot of what it was doing, right? So, but the actual instruction of do this work might be 1 page, 10 page of instruction.
Yeah.
Then it's going to say, I'm going to calculate, use my brain, and then do that for hours or something like that, and then turn back a result. So that's what the compute heavy nature. It's not much communication back and forth.
It's not gonna be to deal with your day in and day out stuff. Somebody suggested this one the other day. Maybe you and I already talked about it. They said that the amount of information that we get from space in terms of where the stars and the planets and blah, 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 that from all these different telescopes, they're all recording all this data every day. And that the people that analyze that data, if you took all of them and all they did was analyze the data for the rest of their life, we couldn't get to a fraction of the data. And that therefore, using AI, we could look at that data in a completely different way and start to maybe see lots of movements or things in space that we would never otherwise see, are things that are moving versus one another that might tell us more about the gravitational fields that are around, or maybe black holes. So that would be a massive, massive, massive amount of compute. Is that the kind of thing that might go into the distributed thing?
Yes. that kind of like really hard science problem,
Right.
data intensive problem, is something that could go into it. But if it's the local chips will be very powerful, right? So we're going to get to petaflop, multi-petaflop things, chips 100 times more powerful than our current chips, right? So we will run a lot of things locally because why send it off to something else if I can calculate it here, right? So there won't be communication for these short problems because all of the easy questions or solvable questions where I could use a regular supercomputer to do from 5 years ago, I will answer locally. It's just like I don't send off, a bunch of Excel problems off somewhere else to work it
Yeah.
because our computers are plenty for
Right.
that.
Right.
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 So it has to be a really gnarly problem.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and, and it's going to be tested by coding, it's going to be other stuff. And then for space astronomy stuff, if I need to send a bunch of massive data, petabytes and petabytes of data to set up the problem, I'm not going to transmit it to your car. Okay. They just bought 7 new supercomputers that can have like 100,000 chips in them. They'll ask that problem there, right? And I'll have the refrigerator warehouses full of data storage, hard drives, memory, and other stuff like that for that, right?
Right.
So those are, but there's a set of problems which is more than my local computer. I need to have 1,000 other computers do it. And I need to, I can send the question out, break it up into pieces, and then come back. And things like a tough coding problem, right? Where I need to code up all Wikipedia or something like that, or I need to code up software for Tesla bots, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I have a problem that can be broken up. I want to send off pieces to a bunch of different things. Work on the juggling problem. Work on the cooking problem. Work on
Right.
whatever thing. So it'll be significant, but it needs to be to fit the right profile.
So then so then the other thing I was questioning was if Elon says that they're going to take the overage, they're going to take the ones that they don't need for the robotaxis, they don't need for Optimus, and that's what will go into the data center. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm hoping that in 2027 we will be making 1 million robotaxis, I'm sorry, Optimus a year, and that we'll be making 3 million cars a year that need the chip. So that's 4 million of these chips just for those 2 applications. Elon is talking about additional real world applications, maybe forklifts or something. I don't know yet. There's also some trucks in there, some semi trucks. So are we going to make that many chips in these 2 fabs?
So we're not talking about 2 gigawatt data centers for XAI. That needs 1 million chips, but it's going to be NVIDIA chips, right? But the data centers can keep getting bigger and bigger. So 5 gigawatts, 10 gigawatts. So we're looking at 3 million, 5 million chips for that. Every gigawatt you can divide by 2 and then move 3 digits over. So 2,000 watts. And then that's how many chips. So when Elon says, I will make 100 gigawatt data center, that means 50 million chips.
50 million chips
Of the NVIDIA in one data center, right? So whether it's done in 2030 or whether it's done in 2032, at some point, 50 million chips. TSMC said they'll scale to 50 million chips. He said that the AI5, AI6, AI7 chips, he wants to scale those to about 1 kilowatt each, because you don't want a car to use too much power. You may have them at 500 watts and have 2 chips for one kilowatt.
Oh, yeah.
So his chips will be a bit smaller. Our chips will be a bit smaller than the NVIDIA chips, right? So that would mean 100 million or 200 million, 500 watt or 1 kilowatt chips, right? But as you scale up and talk about 100 gigawatts, 1 terawatt, then you're talking about 100 million chips, 1 billion chips of the AI8 variety.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then if we want to get to that point in 2032, we're going to be scaling up, right? We're going to say, okay, I need to make, 10 million, 20
Right.
million chips in 2027. I need to make 50 million chips in 2028. I need to make 200 million chips, 100 million chips in 20, I want to be scaling up to that big number.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then it's going to continue beyond that because it's like once you cross over and chips are cheaper in space, then all this growth of getting bigger and bigger and bigger keeps happening, and you're getting more and more chips.
So, in terms of Elon Musk winning at everything,
Right.
we should be seeing 4.2 some point on the
Grok.
Grok, and
Exactly.
or I think you were hoping that 5 was going to be here in January. So, are we?
Right.
Do you think that we're still on schedule for 4.2 like any day and 5 in January?
Um, I would say that it should be any day, but I would kind of say that if I don't see signs of it right away, because you'll see signs like they'll have a version that says, okay, I'm 4.2, I'm being tested someplace.
Yeah,
That would indicate we're 1 week or 2 weeks away,
I see.
right? So since we don't see signs of that, then we're at least, I think, 2 weeks away from a release.
Mhm.
Um, so and it's getting later and later so that if we don't have a 4.2 released in November, it's kind of like, well, why bother? Just go to 5.
Right. Just go to 5. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And so what's your take? They're always on the B2G, not B2G,
All in podcast?
the the WTF, uh,
Okay.
Peter Diamandis.
Okay.
He's always talking about they're always asking the question, who's gonna win? So are you still confident that Elon is going to make he's going to get to the top of all the leaderboards,
For AI.
and when they get for AI and gain the victory?
Um, I think it should happen. That it should be Grok 5 or Grok 6 that does it. That the compute advantage should be enough for them to do it. They'll have had enough time for his teams to get things sorted out. Um, there's a lot of movement between the different companies. You know, Meta hires some OpenAI people, Anthropic OpenAI people are moving around. They can get hired by xAI. So the teams have a lot of cross overlap. So then how could you have something so different? How could things be so dysfunctional at your company that you can't adopt when you got the same guys telling you,
Right.
hey, this is the thing that works over there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the software part of it should be roughly the same because it's some of the same people in
Yeah.
different spots.
Yeah.
So thus, I think then it should go to your approach to the hardware build, and the fact that we're ahead there by a large amount should give us enough advantage to get into a substantial lead, but yet to be proven.
That's right. Yet to be proven. Okay. So as we mentioned, part 2 of this, which I don't know when it'll be. I don't even know when I'm showing this. So you may
Yeah.
be seeing this on Wednesday night or Tuesday night. I haven't decided. Probably Tuesday night because we already get Brian on a Wednesday afternoon. And do you want to see Brian twice? Well, of course you do. But anyway, so it might be tonight, Tuesday night, and then we're going to do part 2. And part 2 will be the space part because this is just crazy. Everything just changed, and one of the things that changed is that Elon said we're really going to be doing the moon.
Right.
So it's like, what do you mean? All we hear about is bars, and now you're telling us that you're really going to be a big deal on the moon. So anyway, that you're going to want to come back for part 2. Brian, any last thoughts?
Let me just say that the fact that when AI data centers get cheaper than in space than on Earth, that means that both SpaceX and Tesla become buy and never sell. You have to worry about like, oh, it's only going to go up to 20 trillion or 40 trillion because they have solved robotaxi and robot trucking. And then there was always a question, do we really need more than 1 billion bots? Do we need more than 10 billion bots? We'll be into the unlimited AI intelligence, where it's like you'll always need more intelligence. Is there a point where you say, that's enough intelligence. We don't need any more of that. That will never happen. So then AI becomes the way that we conquer all of space and we get to unlimited numbers of chips. Once you have 1 billion chips, you will want 1 trillion chips. When you have 1 trillion chips, you will want 1,000 trillion chips. So then that keeps going and going, terawatt, 1,000 terawatt. It keeps going and going. So that means Tesla stock price, SpaceX stock price, XAI stock price keep going up and over. No stop.
No stopping. All right, Brian, thank you as always for jumping on. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.